Alrighty, so I'm going to jump into the webinar now. If anybody shows up late, they can just catch up when they get in. So again, my name is Mike, and with Acromedia, just to give you a quick rundown on who we are. We are a Drupal commerce development agency. So we typically we're doing mostly service work for clients, building websites, building integrations, that type of thing. But we also are heavily involved in the development of Drupal commerce itself. And so we have weekly meetings with the Drupal commerce, like the core Drupal commerce development team, and help with the direction and architecture of the software. And then they do a lot of the development, and then we do quite a bit of development as well, more based on what our clients need, but not necessarily. We also work on some of our own initiatives, such as the Drupal commerce point of sale and some other things like that. Okay, so today I'm going to get into a variety of topics here. I've got product creation, product attributes, checkout flows, order management, promotions, blogging capabilities, and then if we have some time at the end, I can answer questions or I can get into a few other topics that I just have prepared. If you have any questions throughout or during this presentation, there is a group chat that you can enter your question there. If I see something pop up that's relevant to what we're talking about, I'll try and answer it on the spot. Otherwise, I'll try and get to it at the end. And just if we run out of time and I am not able to get to all of the questions or all of the topics, you can always talk to Becky or whoever contacted you about this webinar. Reach out to them and set up a call or another time to discuss specific things further. Okay, so I'm gonna jump in. So just to give you a brief explanation of Drupal for those that aren't familiar. Drupal is a content management system at its roots. So it was made to generate content. So that means blogs, pages, whatever. It can be, it's a fieldable content management system, which means that you're not necessarily restricted to a specific type of page or specific content on a page. It can be when you're configuring a Drupal site, you configure what type of fields you want to enter per content. So for instance, a blog, you might have a header image, a title, the body of the content, related blog posts, that type of thing. So any of those fields that a person might enter when they're generating content, that's all customizable. And so with that flexibility, you can really flex Drupal to do anything, add any type of content. And the same goes for commerce. So Drupal Commerce is an add-on to Drupal. So it gives you all of the flexibility and content creation of Drupal, but then it gives you a full-featured Drupal Commerce e-commerce component that allows you to run a store using the Drupal platform. All right, so the first thing we'll do is, so what you're looking at right now is the Urban Hipster Drupal Commerce demo. This is a demo site that we've created basically so that people can see what a Drupal Commerce store looks like in action. You can also log in and see what the admin interface looks like. The code's freely available so that developers and technical managers and those types of people can look at the code and see how things are built and set up. So using this example, it reaches a wide range of audiences of different people trying to understand Drupal or to figure out how it works and that type of thing. So just to show you or explain a little bit of what we're looking at. So this is the home page. So on the home page, we have your header. We have a rich media slider, this flash sale, this little call to action promotion. We have some call to actions for some specific content that is kind of unique and shows the abilities of Drupal Commerce, and so we've highlighted those. Then down below we have some featured products, just more so to show how you can have featured products on your homepage, as well as based on specific categories. Here we have men's and women's. We've got a little newsletter sign up, common element for any e-commerce website. And then just some more call to actions and kind of your typical footer. Once you get into Drupal Commerce, or sorry, into the site here, if I go to one of these pages, now we're going to be looking at a catalog. So this catalog uses Apache Solr and a Drupal search API. So what that allows you to do is, instead of just displaying products based on a specific category, like a tree of category terms, like we're seeing over here, what this actually is we have all of our products in the database, and then using Search API and Solr, we're able to filter results that are displayed based on any type of data that's been entered, so that it's configurable. So through that, we can do your standard catalog category functionality like we're looking at here. We've got Urban Hipster checked, but we can also filter by brands, genres, any types of special taxonomy that's being used. You could do it by price, you can do it by color. Pretty much any source of data that's in the content that you're trying to filter can be used as a way of showing a catalog or showing like the results on a page. It's kind of like if you did a search for, so if I searched for mug, we're seeing two results because we're seeing that in the title. So Solr works in that kind of way. So if you can think of it as, instead of entering a term this way, if you entered a source of data in there, then you can filter by that data as well, and you would get whatever results come back for that data. So as far as product creation goes, jumping into that, everything in Commerce, once you install the module, is under this Commerce tab here. Right now I'm logged in as an admin, so we can see this top admin bar up here. So products, if we scroll down here to the products tab, that brings us to a page that's an overview of all of the products that are currently listed on this site. So here you can see the title, the type of the product, the status, and some other information here. So when a Drupal site is being configured, first thing you're doing is you're basically, you set up your store, and then you're adding your products, and so you're setting up product types. And so there's three things to a product from like a setup point of view, a configuration point of view. That would be your product attributes. So that would be things, anything that you want the customer to be able to change while they're going through an add to cart form. So that would be like you're picking a size, picking a color, that type of thing. So that would be a product attribute. And just in the menu, that would be found right here, product attributes. And then you also have product types and product variations. So a product type, if I jump into that here. So a product type is basically a categorizing a specific type of product that you might add onto the site. So here we have a download, audio download. We have a basic product type that's just kind of for one-off products. We have a specific type for clothing. We have one for footwear. We have one for mason jar, which is kind of a more unique specific product on this site. And then we have our UH Plus Axe and our UH Plus Recurring Digital. These are, again, unique product types that that we've configured for different purposes, mainly just to show what you can do with a product, like how you can really emphasize a product. So you'd have, you know, a typical e-commerce store has a pretty standard product page, whereas with these two products, what we wanted to do is show how you can really customize what a product page could look like. If you only have a few products and you really want to emphasize those products or make them really unique, you can do that. And so we just have product types for that purpose. So next, so if we go, let me just jump into one of these products. I'll go into the clothing products. So here, if I if I go into manage fields, we've got something called variations. So every product type has a variation, or something called variations. And let me actually jump into that section here. So products, product type, product variation types. So if you think about it in two parts, so you have your product type, which is your overall product. Let me go back here. Like clothing, basic product, footwear, that kind of thing. And then you have your product variation types. And so a variation type is where you actually configure what a person would buy. So you've got, if you think of your product as like the shell, kind of the overall page of what a product would be, and then your variation is the variation of that product that somebody would buy. So in the case of clothing, you would have maybe different sizes, small, medium, large, and you might have different colors as well. Each variation each variation makes up the product that they would buy. So like a small shirt would be a variation, a small blue shirt would be a variation, a small red shirt would be a variation, that type of thing. I'm just going to jump to a product page and try to explain this a little bit better maybe. If I go to one of these products, let's go into this tank top here. Okay, so what we're looking at here would be your product type. So this is a clothing product type, and it's got you can see it has images, it has title, has a price, and like some of these other things here. And then down below we've got our description, specifications, reviews, recommended products. So those are all set on the product type level. So now right here, this small section here would be the product variation. So we've got 3 variations in this case. We've got a small, a medium, and a large shirt. And then so what makes up the variations are the attributes. And in this case, we have one attribute, which is the size attribute that contains small, medium, large. So if I look at those components from a configuration point of view, I'll jump to product attributes here in the menu, go to size, edit that. And so here's the 3 values that we have. Now you can see here that there's also another size, one size fits all. Maybe a product doesn't necessarily have to use every single attribute. It's just, this is just where we're given our options to add more attributes. So I'll give you a bit of an example of that right now. So if I add a value, and let's just say extra small, I'll move that to the top of the list there and save that. So now I've added a new attribute that we can use on our for our clothing products. So when I go to my product variation type, here we go. If I look at clothing and I edit that configuration, you can see here that when we set it up, we specified the size variation as an attribute that this product type can use. And if I go to my fields, we can see that the size attribute is as a reference field here. So this is referencing that attribute. A lot of times, just before I get too deep into this, this might lose some people looking at this fields and this type of configuration. This is largely what would happen when somebody's configuring a Drupal Commerce site. So this is something that your IT development team might do. It might be something that an agency like us would do. The end user, the person who's actually creating the content, probably won't see this or might not see this. It depends on I guess how proficient they are with Drupal Commerce and what you want them to do. But for those of us that are a bit more technical, I'll just continue along the path here, and then we'll jump into the other side of it in a second. Okay, so we've got our attribute size here. You can also see that this particular variation is made up of an image, a size, a UPC code, and then weight. So images and size, those are obviously for the products. The UPC code, this is something that ties into our the point of sale component or module that's installed in this. This is something that would allow if you had a UPC code entered and you had a barcode scanner, then you could scan it, and that whatever that unique UPC code, this is where it's set so that it would show up in that point of sale for the cashiers and whatnot. And then weight is something that is obviously used for shipping. We don't have like UPS or anything like that in the demo site at the moment. But if you did have an integration with Canada Post, UPS, FedEx, any of those shipping providers, they would usually take weight and also dimensions for trying to fit products into a box most efficiently and stuff like that. So those are all fields that when you're adding these modules or when a module or an integration is added to the site, you might have additional fields that get configured that you can then fill out when you're creating your products. All right, and so now let's jump back to the Stream tank top shirt from the front end to see kind of what it looks like from a content editor's point of view, or somebody who's managing just the content of the site. So if I were to edit this, which you can see right here now that I'm logged in, we're editing this Dream tank top page. So we've got our title, our catalog image, a bunch of different fields that have been configured for this product type. Then if I scroll down a little bit, now we see our variations. So again, this is now the product variation type. And if I edit one of these, you can see that we have the image field that we were just looking at, SKU, price field. Here's where we can select what variation to use. So small, medium, large, and you can see now that there's also extra large in there because I just added that. Then we've got our weight, UPC code, and that's it, I guess, for this variation. I could change something here, like I could say this small shirt's going to be $20 instead of $25. Let's update that variation. You can see that reflected here. Since we added that extra small option, let's now add that in here. So I can say, just say SKU small for now. We'll say $20 for that one as well. Select the size attribute, extra small, set a weight, and UPC code, that's optional. So I'll just create that variation. If I scroll up, there it's now in the site, and I'll drag that up to the top. And then down below here, we have, again, just more fields that have been added to the product type, such as add-on products and recommended products. I'll just leave those as is and save this. Okay, so now looking back at the front end again, you can now see that our extra small option is there and that the price is $20. If I change this to say medium, price reflects that and changes as well. And yeah, so pretty easy once you kind of understand how to configure or how to work with your attributes and work with your product types and whatnot. Once it's all configured and set up, it's pretty easy to just add these things in. One special feature that we've kind of added in that's not necessarily a stock commerce install, but kind of an add-on feature is this bundling. So if I go back in and edit this product, you can see down at the bottom here, I've got product add-ons. So this is just a reference field that's referencing other products on the site. So if you wanted to bundle, something else, maybe a backpack, canvas backpack here, I can select that and I can save this. Scroll down, and now we have the option to, as we're purchasing this product, we can select and add that canvas backpack as well. And then if we add this to the cart, you can see that the tank top's been added to the cart, extra small, and then also the backpack's now been added. We can look at our little cart fly down, confirm that that's been added. I had added another product earlier before this demo, so that shows up as well in my cart. I can quickly remove things that I don't want, just like that, and gone. So pretty standard cart functionality. So I do have a few questions here. I'm just going to take a look here. One from Tim says, so those filters don't have to be defined in advance. I'm guessing you're talking about the attributes. Is that correct, Tim? I'll just kind of assume that that's what you mean. So filter when you're configuring your product attributes. That was from the main page. So, sorry, Tim, are you talking about these featured products here? I can't hear you. No, just type. Okay, yeah, no worries. Tim's just telling me to go on. I guess this brings up a good point. So I'll just kind of ramble on. I'll try to notice questions as they come in. I don't get any kind of alert, so it makes it a little awkward. But if I don't end up answering a question, or if it's a little bit too complicated to ask just via chat, we'll follow up with everybody after this, and then you can start dialoguing that way as well to get any questions answered that you might still have. All right, so just kind of moving on. So we looked at our products, our product types, and some attributes. Next, I'll jump into checkout flows and how that works. So when you think of checkout flows, you think of the process that a person will have to take in order to complete a checkout for a product. So that the steps that a person takes is going to be different depending on the product. So if it's a physical product like we have in our cart right now, you're going to need to get a person's shipping address if you're shipping the product to them. And so that's different from, say, a digital product where when a person completes the checkout, all they need to do is just download the file or whatever it is, get the license key or yeah, whatever the case may be. And so in that case, you don't actually need shipping address. You'd need payment information, but you wouldn't need shipping information. So let me just show you an example of that. So here we've got our physical products. And if I go into the cart here, you can see here we've got our cart. We've got a few different, we've got our subtitle. We have a few different discounts that are automatically being applied, just promotions. We don't have any shipping yet because we haven't picked anything. And we've got our taxes and our total. So before I start the checkout, if I go into the commerce menu and then configuration, orders, and then checkout flows. So if I open that up, here you can see we've got a few different checkout flows that have been added to this site. So we've got recurring digital, downloads, and shipping. If I open up the shipping one, we've got our, so here's kind of a drag and drop interface for being able to customize how the steps work. So you can see first we need to check whether the person can log in or not, and also whether whether they need to log in or not, or whether they can also check out as a guest. Then we have order information, so we need to get the contact information, shipping and payment information from the customer. Then there's a step for reviewing. Then there's a step where the payment process happens, and then finally completing the checkout. And then finally, we've got a sidebar that shows us, you can see there's an order summary and coupon redemption. So I can show you now what that looks like. So if I first check out, we're not going to be given the first step, which is the option to log in, because I'm already logged in as a user. So it just skips that altogether. And then, so now we're seeing our order information. So that's order information here. So contact information, shipping, and payment. And so you can see here that you got the shipping information. It's not asking me for a contact. Normally, if you were new to the site, or like say checking out as a guest, it would ask you for your email address that it can send a receipt to. But in this case, I don't see that because it already has that information. So instead, it's looking for shipping. Our shipping method, which we have just configured, just some basic pickup in store or $10 flat rate. So I'll select that. And then we have our payment information where we can choose credit card or a whole bunch of different options that have been kind of pre-configured that we can use alternately to pay. I'll just stay with the saved example payment Visa. And then we also on the right here, this is that order summary that we're looking at right here in the sidebar. So we've got our order summary here, as well as a coupon where we could optionally enter a coupon code. And I think I have one configured. Let's see here, take 10, I believe. I can apply that. Okay, no, I don't have that one anymore. Anyway, if there was a coupon code, we could enter it right there. And so anyway, I'll just move on here. So continue to review. So now we're just in that review step. Again, that's right here. Just review. We can see all our information. If that's good to go, then we'll hit pay and complete. It'll go through the payment process step and then end up here at the complete. So we can see that our order number is 32. A little message that gets displayed to the user. This is all customizable. This order number we can now use in a variety of different ways. One, as a customer, if I need to call in or if I need to reference my order with support for any reason, I can just give that number, and it's quick and easy for support staff to find that. So the customer would also get an email sent to them, which I can't bring up at the moment, but it's a nice formatted email. So let me then move on. So now we've checked out our checkout flow. And before I move away from that into the orders, I'll just go back to the checkout flows here just so you can see how some of these other ones are set up. So for a download, if I edit that, you can see we have pretty much the same thing, except the shipping option here has been disabled, and it's just been all I've done is just dragged it down there basically. So it's quite easy to configure just out of the box some general things. Everything with Drupal can be tied into. So with some custom development, you can alter these steps, or you can add options into these steps. So for example, if you I don't know, say maybe you needed to get a different type of information, or you wanted to try and capture somebody's information, like for a marketing campaign, maybe you're integrated with MailChimp or something like that, and at one of these steps you wanted to give an option for somebody to check a box that allows them to sign up for your newsletter. Those types of things can be done. Those integrations can be made, and this is kind of where you can tie in, or where it would tie in to the checkout flows. So you just hook into them and add that integration in, and it's kind of a layman's terms of explaining how it's done. Just generally speaking, it's obviously more technical than that, but this is kind of where an end user or somebody can then see that and be able to configure it when they're setting up a store or a new feature. So where these checkout flows actually get added to a product, so how does a product know to use a specific checkout flow? So if we go to commerce, configuration, and we go into our order types, so order item types, I believe it is. So this is configuring how an order. So if somebody has a product and they want to check out that product, these are kind of the settings for that particular product type. So if I go into my, let's go to the default, which would be our physical shipping. You can see that the order type is a physical product, and it's got some taxability settings. So then, okay, so let me just go back, sorry, I went to the wrong one here. So we are in order item types, so we'll just go to order types. And let's go my physical products. All right, so here you can see the shipment type. So default versus digital. So we're using the default one, which is the physical shipping, because we're using a physical product. If I went back to the, let's see, the digital downloads here and edit that, then checkout flow here is using a download instead. Let's go back to the physical. So a few other things that you can see. Yeah, sorry, I went to the wrong one. So shipping right here. So the next thing you can see is the workflow. So we've got our, this is where you'd configure on the order level what steps need to be placed in order to fulfill an order. So we've got, default would just be the order is placed and it's done. Default with validation means that the order is placed, but there's a step that, a manual step that order needs to be validated, and then it's marked as complete. And then we have fulfillment with validation. So fulfillment, that would obviously be, if shipping's involved, then that would be your fulfillment step. And so you can turn the order from, orders being placed into fulfilled, and then finally to complete when it's completed. I'll show you examples of that in a second. And then we've got fulfillment with validation, which just throws that extra validation step in there. So we have this one set up as fulfillment with validation. So let's just see what that looks like now from an order point of view. So our order just came in. I'm now admin, or a store, an admin staff looking at the back end. I got notification that an order came in. So now I need to check that order and fulfill it. So if I go to Commerce and I go to the Orders tab, so here we can see all of the orders that have been placed. We can also see there's a tab here for carts. So a cart is basically an order that hasn't been placed yet. It's just sitting in your cart waiting to be completed. So it keeps track of both of those things. But here we did place an order, and our order number was 32. So it's the first one we see here. We can see the type of it. That's physical product. It was placed in our online store. Here, just to kind of explain that, with Drupal Commerce, you can have a multi-store setup right out of the box. So Commerce configuration stores, you can add additional stores. So you could potentially have, you could be running the same, there are multiple stores just from this one interface. So in this case, we have our online store, and then we also have our point of sale that's hooked into a pretend, downtown Chicago store. And so how that kind of works, just from the point of view for managing content and stuff like that, is when you're creating a product, when you're going through the fields and you're adding the title and you're adding images and variations on all that stuff, just from like the product creation point of view, there's a couple checkboxes that are for your store. So you can check which product belongs to what store. If you have something like a stock module or an inventory module that's hooked into Drupal, this demo store doesn't have that in it at the moment, because that particular module is still in development. But say you did, then that'll also tie in, so that if you have inventory at one store versus like our online store, if it's different warehouse or whatever, then you can actually configure that stuff as well through that module, or at least you will be able to when it's ready. So you can also have, so again, using that stock module as an example, what's going to be planned with that, or how that's going to function, is that you set your stock level, and if you run out, then you might run out online, but not your downtown Chicago store. So it keeps track of those different things. So you can keep track of, you know, one inventory product, but then you can have stock in different places. Anyway, I kind of went off on a tangent there, just looking at these types. So getting back to what we're looking at here with the orders. So we can see also that the customer that placed the order, and you can see the state of that order. So it's in a state where it needs to be validated, and the total. So let's edit this order. Go to the View tab. Okay, so here we can see the order, what was placed, or what items were purchased, what discounts were applied, all that type of thing. We can see when it was placed. We can see the customer, all the information here, their billing address, their shipping address, the shipping method, all of the things that they picked as they were going through. You can see that here. You can see the order activity. So this is the activity that this particular user took before they placed the order, or before they settled on this order and actually placed it. So you can see that, you know, different products were added to the cart and then removed from the cart, and you know, that whole history you can see here. It's kind of crazy here right now because I was in there doing a bunch of testing and stuff ahead of time. So there's a lot of products in and out of this cart. But anyway, you can see at one point right here, that order was actually placed. And so now we're looking at that order here, and we need to validate it. So as staff, I might go and make sure that we do actually have the products in-house or in the warehouse or wherever we're at. Once I can confirm that that's ready and the order, that those items have been gathered, I can just simply check validate order. And so now we can see here that the order was changed to validated. If I go back to my orders tab here, I'll just open that up in a new window. We can see that order 32 here. Yeah, so now we're on the state ready for fulfillment because it's been validated. And it also shows that right up here. It's on the fulfillment state. So now we've actually packaged up the order and we're ready to ship it out. Say we have shipped it, so we've now fulfilled the order. We can say fulfill order, and that updates the order to complete. We can see again that it's been completed here. Order was fulfilled. And then if I go back to my orders tab here, you can see that order is now marked as completed. So that's kind of the workflow that somebody would go through. They would add items to their cart. They would go through the checkout, go through whatever checkout flow is configured for that particular product type. And then the order would come in. Your staff would then take over from there. Here's where they would go and find that order, be able to view that order, check the state of it, and eventually complete it. If somebody was calling in, say, and they wanted to edit or change their order, again, you would go to this place here and you would edit that order. Up at the top here, I was looking at this View tab originally, but if you go to the Edit tab, this is where you can actually edit the order. So you can change the billing information. You can remove products. You can edit products. You can add items, add new items to the order. So physical, digital products. You can add adjustments to the order if you need to, add a promotion or a fee or anything like that. You can do that here. You can also apply coupons. So everything that the customer can do when they're going through the checkout flow, you can also manually do here as an admin. All right, so next here we've got about 20 minutes left here, so I'm going to jump into the promotions side of things. So promotions are all handled under commerce and then promotions. So I'll jump into there. And so here you can see a whole bunch of different promotions that have been added. They have usage stats, a start date. You can optionally put an end date on any promotion, which would show there if you did. And you can edit promotions. You can add coupons. You can delete promotions as well. So here, let's take a look at some of the promotions that we have. So here we have a 10% off coupon. If I edit that, just to see how it's configured, you can see there's the name. That's the name we were just looking at. It also has a display name. So this is the name that would appear in the person's cart, in the customer's cart as they're checking out. Bit of a description here. This right here is kind of the configuration for the order. So how the order is supposed to act. So in this case, we've got the offer type as being a percentage off the order subtotal. But as you can see, there are different types: buy X, get Y, fixed amount off of matching products, fixed amount off the order total, percentage off of matching products, percentage off of the subtotal. Then you, depending on what you choose here, changes how you then configure that order. I'll just refresh this to get mine back. So here we've got a 10% off coupon, so that's how we're configuring. That's what we've titled it, so we'll configure it that way. Then we have conditions. So what conditions need to be met in order for this coupon to be applied? So you can add coupons or promotions based on the role of a customer, based on a specific email or emails, based on the billing address of the customer. So you can really tailor them to specific people if you need to. Under the order tab, you can base the coupon off a certain order total. So just looking at that, so if the current order total in this case is greater than, you could say, $100, then that coupon can be applied. So that in this way you can set up really unique instances or specific things for your orders. So there's also limit by orders per user. So if you only want users that are coming back, that have already placed an order before, but now you want to give them a promotion on their second order or third order or whatever, you can do that here. Based on their currency, if you're running multiple currencies on your store, you can set promotions based on specific currencies. And then same with payment gateways. If you want to give, if you have if you allow cash payments, like if somebody can come into the store and pay for their order and you want to give people a promotion based on that because you don't have to pay your credit card fees, something like that, you can do that here. And then finally, we have our product conditions. So if order contains specific product, contains a product category, product types, product variation types, total discounted product quantity. What is that? Okay, so if they're, I think I'm not 100% sure what this one is actually, to be honest, but I think it's total discounted product quantity. So if the product, I guess, I don't know. I'd have to test it. I'm not too sure on that one, so I won't pretend. Okay, so then next we have our order status over here. Yeah, it might be by X or more. Yeah, that sounds right. I was gonna say that, but it's just I'm not 100% certain, so I didn't want to presume. All right, so again, we have the status of this coupon. So you can choose whether it's enabled or not. You can choose specific order types that this coupon will apply to. Choose what stores this product or this coupon works for, online and discounts, or Chicago downtown. Next, we have our start date. You can optionally provide the end date here when these promotions will run to. How many times it can be used, unlimited or limit to a specific number of uses. And finally, compatibility with other promotions. So earlier, I had tried to add the Take 10 coupon, and it didn't let me. It said there was no order, or there was no coupon of that type. It's because this is checked, that it's not compatible with other promotions. And so because there were other discounts being applied ahead of it, it wasn't allowing me to apply that particular coupon. Okay, so that's kind of your settings for your promotions. So with those settings, you can do all kinds of different things. You can log into this site at any point in time using the user and password demo admin. And you can take a look at how some of the other promotions are configured if you like, just to kind of give you an idea of what's possible. And then there's, with these conditions, there's so many possibilities. But for this particular promotion, it is a coupon code. So now let's add a coupon or see where the coupons are placed. So up at the top here, we've got a coupons tab. I'll jump into that. And we've got, so here we've got our coupon code as take 10. So we can optionally add more coupon codes that would apply the same order or apply the same promotion. Just right here. You can do generate coupon codes, which would allow you, say, to generate like bulk number of coupon codes. So here in this case, got number of coupons 10. What format they're going to be in, if you want a prefix or a suffix on the coupon code, the length of the coupon code, and then number of uses per coupon, whether it's limited to one use or multiple uses or unlimited. Let's just try this here. So let's say alphanumeric, sure. Let's say prefix it with take 10, just to see. Length 8, sure. Number of uses 1, sure. If I generate that, there you go. So now we've got a whole bunch of random codes. So on its own, this doesn't necessarily really mean anything. But this is something, again, where like an integration of some sorts can be made so that maybe a unique coupon code goes out with every single order that's placed, and it's a one-time use. Something like that. This is where the generate would come in, because you could actually programmatically generate coupon codes and send them out with the receipts and stuff like that automatically. That's just an example. Okay, so that's coupons, or that's promotions. Pretty straightforward, quite easy to set up. So next, I guess the next topic that I'll cover, the topics are based on what you had requested, would be blogging capabilities. So Drupal Commerce, as like I was saying earlier, is built on Drupal, and Drupal being a content management system, it was made for blogging, basically. So we've been staying here in the Commerce tab, because we've been mostly dealing with commerce. But over on the content side of things here, if I go to add content, we've got a blog post content type that's been added. So like how you can have a variety of different product types, you can also have a variety of different content types. So here you can see we've got blog post, homepage call to action, a homepage carousel slide, image gallery, page, and recipe. Recipe is just something that comes default with Drupal, and we just didn't take it out, so it's kind of an odd one out here, but anyway, that's what that's for. Let me just take a look at what the blog post is. So I'll add content, blog post. So here we have just kind of a standard blog configuration where you can enter your title, the date where you'd like to post or that you want the blog to go out on. We have a few categories here that can be picked from. That's just taxonomy. Then you have your blog post image. So this would be like the featured image or the header image, just an upload field. And then finally, the body content of our blog. Instead of adding one, I don't have images and things prepared, but let's just go back to the site here and edit an existing one. So 2 ways you can find content. Just like with products, you can either go directly to that content. So here's a blog post here, and I could edit it right there. Alternately, I can also go into the content section of Drupal, and we can see all of the content that has been applied. I can filter by blog posts, so I can see just blog posts. And there's 3 blog posts that we have just as an example. So I can edit them from here as well. And just like products, what we're looking at here from the content editing side of things is just a series of fields. So here we have our title field, our post date field, your category, your image, you have a summary and a body, your main content as well. And so in the beginning of this conversation, I had mentioned how everything is fieldable. So if we needed to add something if we wanted to add something like related products, a field where we could, choose from some of our products that already exist and be able to link to them from our blog post, we can do that pretty easily just by adding fields and then customizing the styling and the templates and stuff like that. And so that's just kind of an example of what types of fields you might add. But you could really do anything. You could have multiple image fields. You could have, I don't know, if you needed to add a video, you could either embed the video code in here, or you could have a specific field for embedding, video code. And what that allows you to do from a template point of view or from your site point of view is you can then take all this data, and in a template you can choose where these items are going to be positioned. So if you always want your header image to be at the very top, your title underneath, maybe you always have videos with your posts and you want to have those front and center before the content. You can configure all that stuff through the content type settings, as well as the template. More than likely it'd be through the template. But anyway, moving on here. So we've got this information filled out. How it would look on the front end again, if I go back. All right, so we've got our teaser for this particular blog post that just shows the image, the title, who it was posted by, some other information, a summary for this post, and then finally a read more button. So all kind of typical stuff. We also have a block, it's called in Drupal, which is just like a collection of content that is being pulled from the block. So anything that is the most recent blog post is showing like first order to last in a series of 3. So if we added a new blog post, like a new one would appear here under recent posts. If we go into this blog post, then we're looking at the full blog post now. So again, we're seeing the header image, some sharing options, our title, who posted it, the date that it was posted, the content, and then finally the categories that it was posted under. And then we also have here a newsletter sign up call to action, that if people are reading your blog, they might want to sign up for the newsletter. So we've got that on the bottom here. And so just before I move on to, I'll probably have a bit of time just to talk about how these types of things are added. But just to continue on with the blog, one of the important things, obviously, with blogging is, social media and sharing and search engine optimization and that type of thing. So Drupal comes stock with a module called meta tags. And if I edit this post, over on the right-hand side here, you kind of have your settings for this particular piece of content. And there's one part called meta tags. So this allows you to enter in your page title, description, keywords, and then it has an advanced section that allows you to even place like, geographical location, position, if it's a book, your ICBM, that's latitude and longitude. So that would be like more geo positioning stuff. You can choose how it's affected in your robots text, whether you want to allow search engines to index the page or not, or whether you want to prevent them from, indexing images on the page, that type of thing. There's so many options as to what you can do from a search engine and an SEO and a meta tag point of view, and this is just a handful. So this is kind of the stock options, whereas there are additional modules that you can turn on that aren't turned on for this, but you can turn them on and use them. And that give you the options for things like was it called open cache if you're pushing your products to like a Google store, or you want your products to show up um, in like Google search results, then you can actually define information that Google would then pull, like the image of the product and whatnot, and the price and things like that, so that they would show up properly. Same with how this content gets pushed. If somebody shared it to Facebook or to Twitter or Google Plus or any of those things, you can actually configure the tags properly through this meta tag module. So a lot of it can be a manual process. Right now you can see like nothing is configured here because our commerce site, we want to show this information, but we don't actually want our site to be indexed because it's not a legitimate store, and we don't want people to think that it is. So it's kind of locked down from search engines for the most part. But as far as automating the process, like instead of having to, in this case, like say you put your title here and your site name instead of putting it in your page title, the module itself has a configuration page under search and metadata and meta tag here, where you can actually predefine, using tokens, you can kind of predefine what information should go in there. So in this case, we've got the title, a pipe, and then the site name, and then we have our node summary. So if we were to just leave this as is and publish this content, and somebody found it in a search engine like in Google, this is what they would see for the title. They would see this title here, and then the pipe, and then they would see our store name, which would be Urban Hipster or Commerce to Demo or whatever it's set up as. I can't remember. And then description for the node summary, they would actually see this summary right here. That would be the description of that link, and that's what you would get in a Google search result. So that process is automated out of the box kind of thing, but you can configure it however you want, or you can override these settings and manually enter something in. So in the case of like a blog post, you might want to manually enter some details. In the case of a product, a lot of times you can just you just leave it and it's good to go. And as long as it's configured, like the defaults are configured, then usually that's good enough, and it saves you a bunch of time. All right, so we're now at 2 o'clock. So I gotta cut this webinar short. Sorry that we don't have time for questions, but I encourage you to, if you do have further questions, reach out to whoever sent you the email for this webinar. You can also reach us at a general email that's solutions@acromedia.com, or you could go to our website, acromedia.com, and go to our contact page and contact us that way as well. I hope this was a benefit for you. We also invite feedback. So if you have any feedback about the webinar, whether it was good, not, any of that kind of stuff, I'd definitely like to hear that as well, if you have anything specific to say. Other than that, thank you very much for attending, and good luck.